Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Burton, and today I'm going to talk about what you should do when planning out which Disney excursions you want to book on your next Disney cruise. So the reason I wanted to make this video is the last time we went to book our excursions on our Disney cruise, I just thought to myself how frustrating it is that they list the options of what might be an excursion on your cruise, but you don't actually get to see which excursions are available and the times and all of that until it actually opens up for your Castaway Club status group on the night, like at midnight when you're ready to book the excursions. You really can't look at them ahead of time and see the exact ones that are going to be available for you. And I just find that so frustrating every cruise. And so I felt like there might be some other people that are trying to plan out their excursions, doing research, and really would maybe appreciate some tips on how we have done it in the past. I'm also making this video because a lot of us that are going on Disney cruises, I think we have kids, and maybe sometimes for people it's their first cruise. A lot of people, I think, book through Disney. So if you of course don't need to book your excursion through Disney, but I think it's pretty common for people to start off by booking the excursions through Disney. You know the companies have been vetted. You know that they, at least if you missed your you got back to the ship late, that they will hold the ship for you usually, or they would make sure you get back on it somehow. They're aware of you and that excursion. So it just gives you some safety booking through Disney. And so I think a lot of people start off doing that, and then maybe some more seasoned cruisers don't do the excursions through Disney, but we have not done that yet, so I can't really share that experience. We've always booked our excursions through Disney. You cannot see all of the exact excursions before it opens up for you to book. But you can see the possibilities. So I would start with that. Before it opens, there are a couple of things that I would do. Number one, I would look on the Disney Cruise official website, look at the port that you're going to, and look at all of the possible excursions that might be opening up for you. And I would narrow it down to some that sound good, because all of them might not either be even offered on your cruise, or they might not be available by the time it is time for you to book your excursions. Because with Disney, when you book your excursions depends on your Castaway Club status, or if you're sailing concierge, you can book earlier. Basically with Disney, it depends on how many times you've cruised on Disney, you get to book earlier. So if you haven't gone on many Disney cruises, there might not be some available that were originally available when it first opened up. Next, after you've looked at the possibilities, I would make sure you've joined your Facebook group for your cruise, and then look at the Facebook group and hope and pray that someone from one of the higher levels status Castaway Club groups has shared the list of the excursions, because sometimes people will go on and screen record all of the different options available and very nicely share that with the rest of us who aren't able to book our excursions yet. That is super helpful, but on our last cruise, nobody did that, and so I was kind of going in blind to booking our excursions because nobody had shared what was available right before I booked. After you've checked out your Facebook group to see what information is there, then I would go to YouTube. So if you've narrowed it down between a few different beaches or different activities, I would search YouTube. Obviously, you already like YouTube. Go onto YouTube, search for that excursion, and see if you can ideally find someone that was on Disney that did it, or look at whether there's someone on a different cruise line that did it. Or even if they just went to that beach, not through an excursion, you can at least see the beach, see how busy it is, or see the activity and what it's like. So after you've checked out YouTube, I would look at TripAdvisor. So for example, our family usually just does beach excursions. When we go to a warm place, we've gone to Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean, the Bahamas, and usually my kids are not wanting to do like a hike or anything educational. everybody just, wants to go do something easy like a beach. So I went on to TripAdvisor and searched for the top beaches in a certain place that we were going to. And then you can see, okay, here's the number 1, number 2, number 3 beach, and you can look at reviews of why people liked those beaches. So I used TripAdvisor a long time ago, but it is still useful now to look at different locations and see what people thought of those locations or excursions. Another resource that I would look at as you're thinking through your excursions is cruisemapper.com. The reason I like Cruise Mapper is because then you can see, if you look up the port and the date, you can see what cruises will be at that port and when they arrive. Now, this is really helpful thinking through your excursions, because if you are going to a beach, for example, and you are going to be the 4th ship that arrives, well, then by the time you get there, if you're picking an excursion or a beach that's really close to the port and it's rated like the number 1 beach on TripAdvisor, it's probably going to be super busy by the time you get there. Whereas maybe if you're the first ship to get there, if you can get an early excursion time and get out to that beach before the other ships get to port, then maybe that would work fine. But if you're going to be one of the later ships, then maybe you want to pick a beach that is further away from the port, because those tend to be a little bit less busy. You'd have a little more travel time, but you have to just kind of think those things through. So I find Cruise Mapper really helpful to get an idea of what that port day is going to look like for us, and what's our competition for getting to that beach. The last thing I would think about before the booking opens is I would think about your week. Look at the entire week, right? And if you're going on a 7-night cruise and you've got 3 port days in a row, like by the 3rd one, you might not feel like getting off the ship super early. Your kids might feel like sleeping in, or maybe you want to not get off that middle day because it would give you guys a break. Or maybe if you had 2 sea days, well, now that cruise, that port, it would be really easy to have an early day. So just kind of think through, okay, I'm always just trying to manage like what all of my family's needs are. And I have one kid that just like loves to do everything. I have another kid that has like more of a limited amount that he will want to do. And so I'm trying to make sure that everyone's happy and we're not pushing ourselves too hard. So think of that entire week and which port and what order, and do you have a lot of sea days before this one, or is this like at the end of the week after a lot of excursions? Think that through as you're planning out your week. Also, I would say if you have a shorter trip, you might not want to get off at the excursions if you have a 3 or a 4-night cruise, because you might want to just enjoy the ship. On a 7-night cruise, we like getting off more because you have spent some time with sea days on the ship, so it makes a little more sense to do the excursions. Also, you don't even have to book an excursion. You can just get off and explore the port area if you want. You don't have to book anything ahead of time. Okay, but after it opens, you're booking your excursions. Now you can finally see the times. You can see what's available. And I would pay close attention not only to what's available, but of course the times. Because if I have one that's gonna say 8 o'clock, we gotta get off the ship versus 10:30, and I know that, I've already looked at what cruise ships are in port, and I know that will work out, I might want to pick that other excursion that has the later option for getting off the ship. So pay attention to all of the times. And then just also one thing to keep in mind is that you, with Disney, you'll make your reservation, but you can actually cancel your port adventure or excursion up to 3 days prior to departing for the cruise or your departure date. So I would go ahead and grab it even if you're not sure, because it could book out, sell out, and then you wouldn't be able to grab it later. So if you're unsure, just go ahead and book it, and then just make sure to cancel before that window closes. And then keep that in mind too, if you're not able to get something, people might be canceling, so just keep checking the website and see if it pops up later. Now, when you get to embarkation day, one thing we've done, we actually had a cruise during COVID where we were not able to have our excursions booked ahead of time because they like changed the itinerary at the last minute. And so we didn't have the ability to book the excursions until right when we got to the port to get the terminal to get on the ship. But we were able to get on the Wi-Fi when we got to the terminal. So we weren't even on the ship yet, and we were on the ship's Wi-Fi, and we were looking in the app and able to book excursions from the app sitting in the terminal before we even got on the ship. Then we've also done this where when we got on the ship, we went straight to the Port Adventures desk to see if there was any availability for a specific excursion we really wanted. There was, when we went to St. Thomas, we wanted to take the ferry to St. John's to go to Trunk Bay, which I'd heard amazing things about, but it was kind of complicated to get there and you need to take a ferry, and I was nervous about doing it on our own. And I was able to get us a spot because we went straight to the Port Adventure desk and got like the last couple spots for that Port Adventure. So I was very excited that we were able to do that. So if you get on board and you want to make changes, or if you're trying to book, go to the Port Adventure desk and talk to them and see if they can get you in. We also actually, you know, as much as I talk about planning, when you get on the cruise, I mean, sometimes things just change. So we went on our Disney Treasure Cruise, we had St. Thomas and Tortola like back to back. And so we got off at Tortola, we had a beach excursion, and then the next day was supposed to be St. Thomas, but it was gonna be another early morning. We kind of got our fill at Tortola. I went to the Port Adventure desk to kind of just give them a heads up that, hey, we're not gonna be on that excursion. I know it's like past the time to cancel, so we probably can't get our money back, but I didn't know like if that would be helpful for them to know, like, we're not gonna be there, don't wait for us at the meeting area. And because of, I guess it had already been booked up enough and it was a full excursion, it wasn't gonna have to cancel anybody, like there was no minimum, we weren't gonna mess anybody else up. So they said for some reason we could get our money back still. So that made me feel a lot better that we weren't skipping that excursion and paying for it. So we were able to get our money back. So just that, like a little side note, if you're canceling your excursion, go to the Port Adventure desk, see if you can get your money back, or at least just like let them know, I guess, and you know, maybe you'll get lucky like us. If an excursion doesn't work out and you have to stay on the ship, I mean, we love the ships, and it's kind of nice to be on the ship when like everybody else is off the ship and it's a little bit quieter, so that works out too sometimes. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and stay tuned for more Disney videos coming up soon.